Miggity miggity mic check 1 2 1 2. I am the comedian James Money. This is Hawaii Comedy with James Money podcast. Thank you guys for joining me. Special time is noon Hawaii time in on a Tuesday. Reason being is my guest that's going to join me soon is in California. He's Pacific Standard Time. I'm not sure exactly where he is, but I know he's what do you call hang on a second here. Let me start sharing the feed. Where are we? Can I find myself? Gotta check to see if it's live on Facebook. It usually is. It's just always I always have to check. So it goes live on my Facebook fan page, but I gotta share it to my personal page. Let's see. Oh, there it is. All right, cool. Click on share. Let's see. Share to group. Let's see. Hawaii Comedians group. Why isn't it? Oh, okay. All right. So now it's weird. Share as me. There you go. Boom. Boom. Okay, so I'm figuring this out. Okay, so Facebook made some changes. Share to page. Wait a minute. Let's see if I click that as this and then click share. Now, all right, man. Okay. This is why you gotta get like what do you call, like a producer or somebody that works. I need to hire somebody to do the whole technical side so I can just talk. But anyways, let's start again. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hawaii Comedy with James Money podcast. I am the comedian James Money. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday midday or noon. Yeah, the midday. Doing a special episode because my friend DJ Sandhu is in the Pacific Standard Time. I'm not sure if he's in Vegas or if he's in California. He's originally from Sacramento, but when he logs in, we'll get him on. Last night was a pretty cool episode. Got to chat with a lot of people, so that's cool. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments. I'm glad to answer your questions regarding comedy or whatever you need to talk about. Let's see here. Boom. Get these buttons going. But before we get started, you guys see this beautiful shirt. Yes, I have another one. Last night I was wearing a different one. Different color, different style. This is from Oahu Golf Apparel. You guys can check out their website at oahugolfapparel.com. They make hats, t-shirts, golf accessories, and they're locally produced here in Honolulu, Hawaii. They offer fun, stylish activewear for on or off the golf course. Make Oahu Golf Apparel a part of your game. I like these shirts because, first of all, they have my size, but they're also comfortable. They're very light and they're very flexible. There's a lot of companies that make shirts that only go up to maybe 1XL, or even some will have like a few ugly styles of 3XL. But Oahu Golf Apparel makes 6 extra large, beautiful shirts. Got a collar on, so I can wear it, to work, or I can wear it, if I need to dress up a little bit. So yeah, go check out their website, oahugolfapparel.com, and then get yourself one of these beautiful shirts. There's a lot of people are wearing them now. All right, so also want to give a shout out to Tavana, who does the intro music for my podcast. You can check out his website at tavana808.com. He's a multi-instrumentalist from here in Honolulu, Hawaii. He uses electronic drum triggers to lay down a variety of grooves with his feet while simultaneously playing the guitar or banjo, lap steel, or ukulele, and singing soulful island-inspired rock and blues. Go ahead and check out his website at tavana808.com. All right, so I think we should try to get this show started. What's happening here? I have to restart my laptop, so things is crazy right now. All right. To the stream. Boom. All right. Like I said earlier, let's start the show.
Live from the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it's Hawaii Comedy. With your host, James Money.
Island days, clear blue water, and mountain ranges, and dancing daughters. I can't get enough of these island days. Won't you take me back to Honolulu? Yeah, that surf is high, and I am too. Sing songs all night long. I'm living these island days. Oh, they told me not to fall in love, but I just could not help myself. Oh, I missed my flight again. I was sleeping here with my new friend. Oh, yeah. Island days, clear blue water, mountain ranges and beautiful daughters. Yeah. I can't get enough of these island days.
Yes, Island Days. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, Tavana, for beautiful music. That was Island Days by Tavana. Check him out at tavana808.com. Before I get started, I wanted to share this phone number. I know it's a lot of stress going on out there with the COVID and if making another comeback, and also the war going on and politics and hate crime. Those of you out there, if you feel like hurting yourself, please don't. Go ahead and contact our friends at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Their phone number is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. You never know, they could help you out, or they could point you in the right direction. If you don't want to talk to them, hit up a friend, hit up somebody you know. Hit me up. I'm all over social media. Slide into the DMs, as they say. Let's chat. A lot of comedians, we go through a lot of self-analyzing, and sometimes we get under a lot of stress. So if you're doing good, you see somebody walking by, say hello, be a friend, say hi. Thank you guys again for tuning in to the Hawaii Comedy with James Money podcast. I am the comedian James Money. We have a special guest. He's a friend of mine. He's a road comic. The reason I like him because he's hardcore. All right, so he puts it out there. He goes after it. He doesn't hold back, and I love that. I respect that. And I've seen him a bunch of times, and he's helped me get stage time in Vegas, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome my good friend DJ Sandhu.
Hi.
What's up, man?
Dude, I don't even remember helping you in Vegas.
You reached out to the people at was it Cheney?
Oh, Jason Chain?
Yeah, and he was at L.A. Comedy Club in the Stratosphere.
Oh, dope, dude. I don't even remember doing that shit.
You do know him though, right?
Oh, I love him. That's my brother. I love how
Yeah.
you start with that suicide notification. That's dope, man.
Well, you know, you know a lot of comedians. A lot of comedians are walking that edge sometimes, you know.
Oh yeah, man. I'm it's my new closer is about my suicidal depression now, and I was about to post today, but I just drove from like the middle of California to Vegas. It was like a 5.5 hour drive, which there's nowhere in Hawaii that understands what that means. I guess. Well, yeah, I don't know. It depends on what time of day you're trying to leave Honolulu, but otherwise, like it was wild, man. But I was gonna post this earlier today, saying like I have bad genes. Like I have good genes genetically, but I have bad genes like mentally. Like I don't have the genes that will let me get like a 38-inch waist, but I do have the genes that will put a 38 millimeter in my mouth. Oh. And people don't think that that's a funny joke for some reason.
I guess you can say that's a trigger warning.
Yeah.
Comedians are so dumb.
We're terrible people.
Yeah. No, but you did help me out. You introduced me to Jason, and he was opening for Landry.
Oh yeah, I love Landry too, man.
Yeah, so then they got me into the LA Comedy Club at the Stratosphere. This was maybe like four years ago or something like that. So it was a while ago, but kept in touch with them, and you know, I appreciate that because that week that I was there, I was able to perform at what is that called? Dirty at 12:30, and that the LA Comedy Club. Which,
oh, dope, man.
Yeah, for me that was exciting. I mean, you know, I'm based out of Hawaii, so you've seen how it is here, where it's sometimes there's a show, sometimes there isn't a show. But to be able to do 2 shows in one night in Vegas was awesome.
But it's wild though, man, because when you guys do have a show, it's sold out. Like you either have like no shows at all, or you have like a fucking theater.
Well, it's because of the pandemic, so there. A lot of concerts closed down. A lot of major comedians that were coming down canceled the shows. So people who wanted to go out, you know, how people was like, I don't care about COVID. I'm still going to go to shows.
Right.
They showed up. They showed up at the comedy show. So a lot of Comedy U who promotions that do shows here, they started selling out shows. So, which is cool. You know.
Yeah.
You were down here?
It was cause when was it? I was there New Year's.
New
Dude,
Year's Eve. Yep.
You guys do New Year's in a way that nobody, like, you can't even explain it. Like, your guys' New Year's is absolutely bananas, dude. I was
people are like, oh, I don't have money, but then yet the fireworks just goes off like everybody's a professional fireworks person.
We were just at somebody's house and they were shooting off fireworks that were worth as much as my Corolla. I was like, how much was that? They're like, oh, that was like $1,800. I'm like, where the fuck did you get $1,800 from? Like they just sell this here? They're like, oh no, this isn't legal. And then I'm like, why does everybody on the island have them?
It's one of those things where there's more people that do it than there are cops. So the cops pretty much like
they just gave up.
How can we enforce it when everybody's doing it? And a lot of it is from somebody illegally shipped a whole bunch of stuff off, off the ships. And because when I used to work at the city bus, a lot of the drivers were selling it, and they would just hand you
just openly.
Yeah, they would hand you a menu in
on the bus. If they knew you.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, dude, like you just pay your bus fare and then they just give you like, oh, by the way, if you want this illegal shit, like.
Oh no, I was
like nobody.
I was an employee too. We were both employees. So it was like in the break room, and they're like here, and it's like every driver that comes through knew somebody that was selling them. So there's like here. So at the end of like the week in December, it's like you have like 10 of these menus of what you want to order, and it's see who's the cheapest one and who's got the best fireworks. And
That shit was on par with what the casinos out here use. Like, for real, that was a Vegas level fireworks show, and that was just in somebody's cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it's funny because I seen your video.
Dude,
you
guys are nuts, man.
Yeah, and it's so funny because you can just sit on the freeway or a lookout and just see the whole island just blowing up, fireworks at midnight, and it's. I think the locals are proud of it.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of videos on Twitter where people were just pulled over on the freeway.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, that shit was nuts, dude.
Yeah. So I have a friend who moved here recently, Graham Elwood, who's a traveling touring comic. He lived on Kauai last year. He moved here and lives in Waikiki this year. And he said, man, I thought I was in a war zone because he's done comedy in Afghanistan for the troops. He was like, I thought I was in a war zone. It was like flashbacks, it was so loud, and especially because he lives in a condo like up high, and there's that the alleys that echoes the sounds, and he was just like, man, this is crazy. I should leave New Year's and come back after.
Yeah, man, that's what I was thinking. We were with a couple of soldiers, and I was like, yo, how you doing, man? They're like, man, I'm just gonna stay inside for a couple hours. And I'm like, that fucking sucks, man. He's like, that's fine. The dogs are in here.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I have a dog that hides under the bed. Another dog, I just bury them under pillows, and they just stay there. I feel bad for them, but I guess that's maybe.
Yeah, but Hawaii doesn't give a shit about dogs or veterans.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck it, PTSD. We're going off.
Yeah. And the funny part is that they always push the reason they do it is for culture. And I'm like, what culture? Because Chinese New Year is like a month later, and they do the loud red firecrackers.
Right.
That's what they do. So what culture is doing aerials? I don't know any culture that says we gotta light the sky on fire. So yeah.
That's the thing, man. You guys are a blue state, but you guys are the most redneck Democrats I've ever seen in my life. For real, man. Hawaii is just a bunch of redneck ass Democrats. It's weird. It's so weird, man. I don't know how you guys even consider yourselves blue. Like, it's.
I don't even know how to explain that either because it's true.
That's the most accurate description I've heard of Hawaii in my life. Like, everybody's got a big ass truck and like just guns and explosives, and I mean, you guys have so much military there.
Yeah, I think we have like 8 or 9 bases on one island, I think. But
yeah, just on Oahu, there's I think 6 bases. Or 7?
6 of them. So see, and also you stayed in the west side, right? When you were here, you stayed on the west side.
Far west, yeah.
Yeah, that's country. I mean.
Oh yeah, man. I was as far west. Like, you would even DM me. You're like, I wouldn't be out at night. No, but you guys were locked down though. I mean, this is only 2 months ago, but you guys were straight up locked down because we had to.
Omicron.
None of the bars were open past 10. We found a Buffalo Wild Wings. I've never been to a Buffalo Wild Wings in my life. Like, I thought it was just like this bro bar. That was the only place we could find that would sell alcohol after 10 o'clock, and we had to use our Vax card just to get in there.
Yeah.
I was like,
man, and we're still somewhat locked down. I mean, the 25th in 3 days, then they're gonna lift the mask mandate. So we're the only state that still has the mask mandate.
Yeah, real quick, is this camera angle good, or can you tell that I'm not wearing pants?
I can't see your crotch, so you're all right.
All right, good. I just want to make sure.
Well, if you get too high, I mean, you can just put your beard down a little bit, cover up.
I got too used to these Zoom meetings.
How long have you been growing your beard? Because that's.
Dude, if I shave clean, I'll be back at this in like 11 months.
No shit.
It's my hair that's impressive.
Nice.
This shit. Last time I got a haircut was March 13th, 2020.
Oh, so that's 2 years.
And
Wow.
And well, I just cut 4 inches off of all the dead weight.
You got that good hair. This for me right here is about 6 months.
God damn, bruh.
Yeah. So I'm nowhere near yours. You got that good hair too.
Then when you coming out to Vegas, bro?
I'm actually going to be in LA April 22nd. I was wanting to go to Vegas, but it's the money's still funny. I mean, the life of a stand-up comedian, or trying to make it happen with this podcast and see if I can get some start hitting up some clubs in 2023. But trying to build up the heat so that clubs will actually, consider me. I wouldn't mind starting to tour up in the States now that, the pandemic is chilling out.
Right.
But I like the way you do it. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about is that you're hardcore. You take you don't candy coat. You go to Oklahoma, you're exact same DJ Sandhu that I know in Oklahoma, that's in Sacramento, that's in LA, that's in Vegas. Like, you let them have it. I mean, I see the videos that you post, and do you think that helps you, I guess, or do you like fucking with people in that part of the country? Or
well, I don't think first of all, I don't believe that humans are very different anywhere you go. Like, we have this whole thing of like them versus us, and like they do this and we do that and blah blah blah, but it's not true. It doesn't matter what language you speak. Like, it doesn't matter your sexual orientation. It doesn't matter how dark your skin is. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Like, we all do the same things. Like, no matter where you go, like, they celebrate life. They mourn death. They have weddings. They just do it in a different language with different spices. Like, but there's not much of a difference between, and like, and it's weird how it'll be like intercultural as well, where it's not even as simple as like, oh, Asians do blah, 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 blah. Like, a Vietnamese woman can't just casually marry a Filipino man without their families being like, no, this doesn't work. Like, they do this, we do that, blah, blah, blah. And so we do that in the United States as well, where it's like we think that everybody in Oklahoma are these backwoods ass country bumpkin, like, but it's not true. And even if it is, like, I go to some country bumpkin ass spots and they're dope. Like, they're still super fun. They still want to laugh, and they still deserve laughter. Being in such a liberal bubble where we, because comedy is a liberal art, and also liberal arts are the only arts that exist. There's never been anything called conservative arts. Conservatives aren't generally known for being artistic. They're known for being more pragmatic and problem solve orientation, whereas liberals are more creative, and conservatives don't really give a shit where you're from as long as you're funny. Mm-hmm. Whereas like in LA, you'll see like they'll stack a lineup and it'll just look like all the colors of the rainbow, and they think that that's diversity, but it's not diversity because every one of them sounds exactly the same. They're all saying the exact same thing. So there's no diversity in thought. It's just, oh, we found our black, we found our woman, we found our gay, we found our Asian, and now that we've got all the different types of Pokemon, we have achieved diversity. Yay! But every one of them still saying fuck Trump. Right. So they're all still saying the exact same thing.
It's funny you say that because the time I bumped into you, I think that's the last time I actually physically saw you was when we were at the Comedy Store, when I bumped into you over there. So when we were in, is it the belly room, that smaller room?
Yeah,
open mics. And it was like every comic that went up, although looked different, they all started, like almost their first sentence was, I'm gay. Yeah, so I'm
over and
gay.
over and over again.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, everybody, I'm like, I might be the only different one, not just because I'm Polynesian, but I might be the only straight one going up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, it's funny because my cousin who was with me was saying, oh, you're gonna see, and I was like, oh yeah, it's strange that everybody started out that way instead of just going up and just, telling jokes. They all had to put that out there that they're gay, and not.
Right, like, because I'm there's no identifying factor that comes before comedian for me. Like, I identify as a comedian before I'm more of a comedian than I am an Indian man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before anything, I'm a comic, and so I look at everything through the scope of where's the joke, and that's it. When you identify as gay or black or female or whatever before you identify as a comic, it shows in your comedy. Like, I have no Indian pride whatsoever. I'm like, yeah, we have dope weddings and the food's fire, but like, I didn't invent any of this shit. I don't care. Like, you can talk about whatever you want, but if you start talking about my comedy, now I have a problem. Like, this is mine. This isn't Indian comedy. This is DJ Sandhu's comedy. So now I got an issue. But like, if you don't like lamb vindaloo, I don't fucking care. I wasn't there when it was invented. Like, I don't know how to make it. That's your own personal taste, and you're allowed to have that. And I don't think it's racist or like, I don't give a shit if you like Indian culture. I don't like Indian culture. I'm just fucking born into it. Like, but this is my comedy. I identify as a comic first, and in LA, people identify as a minority more than they identify as a comedian. And that, for example, I look like I should be. I mean, if I walk into a comedy building and they're all about diversity, like I should be on stage easily. I should have no problem getting on. Comedy Store didn't fuck with me at all. Because I'm not saying exactly what everybody else is saying. Like, I didn't fall in line and do the same, like, oh, well, here's where you're supposed to applaud because I agreed with you guys. Like, I say outlandish shit, and you might not agree with it, but it's still funny.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not preaching the message that I'm not trying to spread the agenda that the Comedy Store's trying to spread. And they got a new booker now, so hopefully that changes. Hopefully she changes the culture of the store. And but the Improv and the Laugh Factory have the same problems. Unless you're famous, unless you're a big dude.
Right.
If you come in with followers, you can say whatever you want. But if you're trying to get followers, if you're trying to make a name for yourself as one of the most clever people in the room, that doesn't happen. You just got to wait until you get 100,000 followers so that you can earn the right to think for yourself.
Right. I can see that because even with here in Hawaii where we have, and I'm sure you've seen where we have that a certain local style of comedy, which is specific to the local people here, whereas trying to do that up in the States, you would probably struggle unless, you get other people that get the local Hawaii humor. So I can see where for a while I would come out as I'm a large Samoan person. Not I'm a comedian, I got some funny thoughts, listen to my ideas, check this out. It wasn't till like recently where I started talking about like you said, relationships, family. I started talking about, and then turned into more storytelling style. And it kind of got me out of doing what we call here in Hawaii pigeon humor or local Hawaii humor. So I think for the years that I've been doing it, and then being able to perform up there in Vegas a couple times, it's funny because even especially at Dirty at 12:30, which I think you're perfect over there. I don't know if how that's going for you, but it seems like Gabe really digs you as many times as you're over there. I had to like really ramp up because I'm thinking Dirty at 12:30 and hearing is it Jocelyn Sharp?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like listening to her, I'm like, holy cow. You know, I got dirty at 12:30. I didn't know that we gotta go there. Like,
Well, you don't have to. I know a lot of dudes that will run 100% clean set at that show, and it'll be fine because like it's I mean it's the dirty at 12:30, but at the same time like there's no expectation to be as dirty as you can. It's just the audience knows that there's a possibility that this might get disgusting, or this might get racist, or this might get homophobic. Like, but we're here to joke, and nobody up here really believes that Korean people are horrible. Just here's a joke about how horrible Korean people are. Right. And then everybody here is going to understand that this is all in the name of fun and humor, and we're not trying to hurt anybody, but we are trying to make fun of you.
Right.
Like if somebody does a joke about Indian people, I don't care. Like I don't have feelings as an Indian man. I have feelings as a comedian. I don't give a fuck what's on stage. I don't care if it's black, white, skinny, fat, rich, poor, gay, straight, trans. I don't care what's between your legs and what you do with it. I don't give a fuck what's on stage as long as it's funny. And funny needs to be number one. I'm not putting somebody on just because they're trans. Like I'm not giving somebody an opportunity just because they're a woman. I'm not giving somebody an opportunity just because they're black or gay. I don't want an opportunity just because I'm Indian, but I want to deserve, like I want that opportunity because I'm funny. I don't want to just be on Netflix like, hey, look at this Indian guy. I want people to be like, yo, this fucking special is fire.
You think you started out that way? That's an idea that you had from the jump, or something that you learned over time doing comedy?
I think that's the first joke I wrote was comparing cigarettes to vagina, and it was I was like, I like pussy and I like cigarettes, and like they have a lot in common. Like one, they cost a lot. They make your fingers smell funny, and if you keep fucking with them, it'll give you a disease you can't get rid of. And that was the first joke I ever wrote, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty good." And, I mean, now looking back, I'm like, "Oh, that's a terrible joke," but my first joke wasn't like, "Oh, 9/11," none of that shit. Like, it took me a while until I started doing jokes about how I look. So yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that I started off identifying as a comic because the first joke I wrote was a joke. It wasn't a comment on how I look, because that's how everybody starts. Is I know I look like the guy who blah 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 blah. Like that's usually the first joke that anybody writes, and that took me a while to start doing that shit.
Man. Did you grow up in the culture, or what was your neighborhood like? I mean, was it? You think maybe that had something to do with it, the environment?
Yeah, well, so Sacramento was named by Time Magazine as one of the top 5 most diverse area codes in the world. Wow. So it's like we have everything. Like, I mean, you'll even notice like with my Asian references, like I'm saying like Vietnamese and Korean and Filipino. I'm not just saying like generally Asian when everybody else would assume Japanese or Chinese. Like we don't have just Latin, like we don't have just Mexican. We have like Salvadorian and Honduran and like Peruvian. Like we have all the Central and Latin America represented in Sacramento. Like we don't have just white people. We have actual Europeans. So and everybody just kind of grows up next to each other, especially in like in the lower income areas. Like that's where all the immigrants are. And we all grow up eating each other's food and talking shit to each other and understanding each other's cultures, because we're so involved with each other's families and like though your best friends don't look anything like you out here. So you that comes out on stage. I mean, 3 years in a row, the winner of Stand Up NBC was from Sacramento. Oh, wow. They had J.R. de Guzman, Kyrie Shabazz, and Mikey Winfield. And that's not an accident. like every year there's a Sacramento comedian in the top 8 for World Series of Comedy. Like, that's not an accident. It's because we all grow up next to each other, and so we understand each other's cultures a lot better. And because of that, we know how to talk shit to each other. Like, this is what makes Russell Peters so successful.
Right.
Like, he loves your culture so much that he spent so much time studying you and your people that when he does his crowd work and he starts fucking with any of the audience members, like, he knows how to talk shit to Vietnamese people in a Vietnamese way. And now the rest of the audience might not think that this is very funny, but the Vietnamese people are like, yo, he fucking understands us. And that hypes them up, and they get excited about that. He knows each culture within like a larger umbrella very well. Joe Coy is very similar. Like, he doesn't just stick to Filipino comedy. Like, he's been able to branch out worldwide because there's not enough of his people to support that level of career. Like, when you're at that level selling out theaters, there's not enough Filipino people around the world to sell out every arena that he's selling out. Right. So he's breaking across into different cultures because he knows those cultures so well. And that comes from, like, when I'm talking shit about somebody, it's coming from love and respect and understanding. And that's my favorite thing. So when I start doing black jokes or something like that, the audience will tighten up and they'll start looking around at black people. I'm like, stop looking to see if the black people are laughing. They're laughing. And understand that no matter what I just said, it's nowhere near as racist as staring at black people to see if they're laughing. Like, the only thing more racist than that is knowing exactly where the black people are. And then the black people are like, fucking thank you. Like, I'm not going to make a joke about somebody I don't understand. Like, if I haven't spent time in your culture and understanding your people, if I haven't broken bread with you, if I haven't been to your funerals, like, if I haven't been to your weddings, if I haven't been to your barbecues, like, I'm not going to make fun of you because I don't understand you enough. And this is going to come across as racist or hateful or bigoted or something. Like, it's not going to come off right if you don't really understand that.
Dude, were you able to hang out with any locals? Because I know you were with military group when you were down here in New Year's. Were you able to see any, like, local Hawaii people, natives?
Oh yeah, my girlfriend's people are all from there. They own. Do you know the 702 bar?
I've never been, but yeah, I know. There's a 604.
604.
Yeah.
604. They own the 604 restaurants.
And so you see where it, like, a lot of people talk about New York City being a melting pot, but in my opinion, it's more like tossed salad, and everything doesn't mix together. Whereas here in Hawaii, you ask somebody, a Hawaiian person, oh, what are you, Hawaiian? And they can tell you, oh, I'm Hawaiian, Puerto Rican, Portuguese, Filipino, Chinese. So that's a melting pot. That's somebody that's blended all these cultures together. So, like for me, for example, I could talk on all these ethnicities because my neighborhood, it was me and another Samoan family, or my family, another Samoan family. We lived in an apartment building. My best friends were Vietnamese. The bully in our neighborhood was Korean. Some of the best athletes in the neighborhood were Filipino. So we had a lot of different type of culture that I grew up with. Cubans and Chinese people, and so yeah, I guess you're talking about Sacramento is starting to sound a lot like, for me, Hawaii. As far as
very much. And yeah, you're right. In New York, it's tossed out. Like, they have all the ingredients, but the ingredients don't blend together at all. Mm-hmm. Like, there'll be any place that I feel like any place that has a Chinatown cannot call themselves integrated. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, we love and accept everybody, but we keep the Chinese in this corner, and then we put the Italians in this corner, and then here's where the Polish are. Like, that's not integration. That's accepting. Like, we accept these people, we just don't want them anywhere near us. And Sacramento's not really that way. We have like, obviously there's no matter what you do, you're always going to have neighborhoods where like here's going to be a larger Nigerian population, but that's more of an immigration issue than anything else. Because that's right. You have to have a sponsor to come immigrate to the United States. So you're probably going to move to the neighborhood that your sponsor lives in. So you're going to have a Russian pocket, and you're going to have like a Portuguese pocket or whatever. Like you're going to have these pockets of anything but that's always going to be immigration based. It's not just they're vaguely Asian, so we're going to put them over here.
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same with here. We have certain neighborhoods where, and growing up, they called them places Filipino camp. It just so happens there's a lot of families, Filipino families in this neighborhood. There's certain, I guess, when my people were the last to come over before the Micronesians started coming over. So a lot of us in the 70s and 80s were in the projects, whereas now we're outside of the projects, and then now we have a lot of Micronesians that are coming over because they're immigrating in, and you get your start where you get your start. I mean, Hawaii is crazy expensive to live in, so you start where you start, but then as the generations grow, you start moving out to the suburbs or what have you. So
yeah, but I think that I think that if more comedians took this kind of a philosophy, it would make comedy better in general. But two, I think that they would learn how to express themselves, because now it's you're making jokes off of how the world perceives you rather than how you perceive the world. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not making comedy based off of how you see me. I'm basing my art off of how I process the physical universe and my own reality. And that's a very big difference. And that helps me express myself instead of expressing your opinion of me. So I think that comics would have one, it would just make art better. Two, it would be the release that they're looking for, and they wouldn't be hitting that wall of frustration of just I'm not feeling creative.
I had Ahmed on the podcast, and he's similar to, he does acknowledge that he's Arab, he's from Egypt, but if you just go to watch his show and you watch him perform, he doesn't really talk about it until it comes up.
Right.
So his is more about his persona, his charm, and who he is as a Californian, and then it comes out. Then he addresses the elephant in the room, if you will.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that I want to prove to the audience that I'm more than what they see. And then once I've proven that, once I've established that baseline, then I'll throw some Indian jokes in there. But that's for a couple of reasons. One, now I've established that I have more than just this one card to play. But two, I literally just made fun of everybody in this room. I have probably attacked you at some point so far. So just want to remind you guys that I'm okay with you talking to me this way. Right. Just in case I offended you and you're upset about the white people joke that I just made, then I start doing a joke about me that that guy, he's just being a goof. And then you can't really stay mad at me.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like what they would say about Greg Giraldo being a Latino. He would never, you wouldn't know that he was Latino until he said something because of he was doing, like you say, he's a comedian first, and then it came out somewhere, and I think they were comparing it to like that fan where everything was his mother's accent, or he's heavy with the being Asian. And I mean, I haven't seen him lately, but I'm talking about back, this is what, maybe like 10 years ago or something. So I don't know how his comedy has evolved since, but I know that people would compare or the contrast between a Dat Fan and a Greg Giraldo. So
right, yeah, it's
a lot of people,
it's I think it's freeing because I don't see myself as an Indian person. I see myself as a person. I might happen to be Indian, but I'm just a dude. So I'm not gonna. I don't make my decisions based off of what would an Indian man do in this situation. Like, I don't live in that box, and a lot of people do. Like, there's a lot of people that they only live in that box. So when you go on and you're opening it, so I'm gay, it's like, just tell a fucking joke. Like, I'm not giving you extra credit points just because you're gay. Like, because if that was the case, then I would just choose to be gay. Right? Like, and that proves that whole thing wrong. So, like, if this isn't something that you've chosen, then why the fuck you running around trying to get extra credit points for it all the time? Right? Like, and there's a lot of gay comics that I've seen that don't mention it, or they don't mention it until later. But in LA, like you were saying, specifically in LA, that's the first thing, because like in LA, they see so much social currency in what type of Pokemon they are. So they got to bring it up. That's like, they got to bring it up as often as possible, and they got to make sure that everybody knows this about them. But then when I see like gay comics in the Midwest, like there was this one dude, this dude in Little Rock named Jay. He was at the open mic, and then he came to the show Thursday, and then Friday he came to the show and he brought his boyfriend with him, and I was like, "Yo, dude, oh shit, man, I had no idea." And he was like, "How did you not pick up on that?" I was like, "Well, I mean, you didn't bring it up in your comedy at all, and I'm not gonna just assume because you talk softer than the other people in this group that you're taking dick for fun." Like, no, like, so, I had no reason to believe that you were gay.
I'm going to equate soft talking to that you have sex with men.
No, like, no, not at all. Yeah. We hung out for like 3 days. We hung out for 3 days. I saw him on stage twice before I found out he was gay.
So,
but in LA,
a situation where comedian first, and then
but then in LA, the first thing out of your face is and especially I feel like especially if you're a white comic, you have to identify yourself as not one of them. Like, you can't just be a hetero white dude. You can't be all three of them. So if you're a white dude going on stage, immediately establish that you're gay. Let them know that you're an oppressed minority, so you deserve to have this attention right now.
It sounds like ice cream to me. It's like, vanilla. I like chocolate ice cream.
First of all, vanilla is my favorite. I don't know why people hate on vanilla. Here's the thing, man. Like, with vanilla,
add sprinkles.
I feel like it just became, because it's the standard, right? And so because it's the standard, it became synonymous with boring. But that's not fair. Like, it's good. It became the standard because it's good, right? But because it's everywhere and it's so accessible, people are like, "Oh, it's just plain vanilla." And it's like, so you're telling me that you would rather have, like, if somebody offered you a scoop of vanilla ice cream, you'd be like, "Ugh, it's so vanilla." No, you'll be happy as fuck. Vanilla ice cream makes people happy. But just because it's so common doesn't mean that it sucks. So when people are like, "Oh, the sex is so vanilla," I'm like, "So it's delicious?" So it's
just be happy you had. just be happy you had some.
Yeah, I don't know why people hate on vanilla so much. That's legit my favorite. Like, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be in love with a kinky ice cream just to be interesting. Like, just because it's got caramel swirls and walnuts and fucking marshmallows in it, like, that doesn't make it better. That makes it busier.
Yeah. I got pineapples, ladies. How about that?
So I did finally have I had pistachio gelato for the first time. Yo, that pistachio hits, man. Pistachio hits, because I always go mango. That's my biggest weakness. That's my kryptonite is mango.
That could be your genes right there. That could be your DNA saying, "Hey, we love mango."
Dude, it calls to me. I fucking love mango. And they were out of mango, and I was like, I don't have a backup plan. I've never been in this position. And they're like, well, let's try something else. I was like, oh man. I was like, I don't know. My dad likes pistachio. I tried it out. I was like, yo, this is a banger.
Turning into your dad.
Oh, I love turning my dad. He's hilarious.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you go.
Dude, that's
one thing I wanted to ask you is, and a lot of it is for the comedians that are here in Hawaii. You've seen the level of comedy we have here, and we're trying to develop, trying to grow and branch out. So, do you have a manager, an agent? What is your process in trying to get booked in clubs? And I hear comics saying, don't waste your money getting a manager or an agent if you can do it yourself. And most times you can do it yourself. You just gotta not be lazy.
But that's so I only had representation for 1 year of my career, and I've been doing this 12 years now. What year is this?
2022.
So it'll be 13 years in May. Yeah, so in that whole time, I've only had representation for 1 year of it, and he got me one gig. And it was the year that I left my day job, and I sustained financially for an entire year. After he only got me one gig for $800, I did the rest of it on my own. But one big misconception is you're not coming out of pocket for representation. They only take a cut of what they get you. And you got to make sure that that's what your contract says. They're not entitled to any money that you make outside of them. You make 100% of your own money, but if they find you a paycheck, then they take 10, 15%, which I'm totally fine with, because 85% of 100 is way more than 100% of zero.
Right.
So fuck it, let them take whatever they want. If it's feeding you and it's paying your bills, then who gives a shit? But just don't ever get into some kind of a contract where they're entitled to money that you made on your own. That was a pro move. I saw you mute yourself.
Before I clear my throat.
That's a pro move. I saw that happen in the corner too. I saw your icon change.
So, like, as far as like reaching out to bookers, is it just from so the way I got up, you vouched for me, Eddie If vouched for me, other people have vouched for me. Is that how you got in, or you just found out who the contact person was for?
So I'm a serial killer about booking. I developed a database of comedy booker information from like Sacramento to Thailand. Like I've got like over 350 names and email addresses, and it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it goes like country, city, state, name of the venue, the nights that they operate, do they provide lodging, how much they pay, the phone number, the email address, the name of the booker, how often you're allowed to work there. Like some people are on a 6-month rotation, some on an 18-month, some of them are on a 1 year. Like how often you're allowed to go back, the last time I worked there, and then that auto populates. So I have the last time I worked there, and then it adds the rotation, and then it subtracts 3 months. So I just got to put in the last day that I worked there, and then the cell next to it will tell me what day I should send them an email. Because I'm not going to wait.
Your Indian side is showing, by the way.
That's just my analytical side. That's what makes me a good comic is I'm analytical.
That's the amazing thing about what you're saying is, because a lot of comics want to be there, but they don't put that work, that thing that you're talking about right there, as far as organizing your dates and your contact information and figuring out when's the best time to hit up that place. Okay, I'm ready to work.
The hardest part is getting getting an interview is the hardest part, right? Like, just if you just look at it as applying for a job, just getting the interview is the hardest part. Once you get that interview, you can knock it out. But trying to get your application noticed, that's almost impossible, especially because like these bookers have a list of people that they've been booking for years. So why should they even open an email from some random Hawaiian dude named James? I've never heard of you before. Why the fuck am I opening this email right now? I already have my rotation booked out. So trying to get them to open that email is the hardest part. Figuring that out, then you're good. And I mean, I have my method. A good way to do it is, especially like you got my connection, or you got Eddie If's connection, or did you open for Ronnie Chang in when he was in Hawaii?
Yep.
Yeah, so having like a Ronnie Chang connection or something like that. Like well, Ronnie's probably not going to be doing comedy clubs though. But let's say if he started doing like a comedy club circuit, like you can just hit him up like, hey, can I come through and just do a guest spot so that I can meet the manager and hope to get on and like just utilizing your connections, and especially somebody like Ronnie, like he is going out of his way to try to provide opportunity for as many Asian comics as possible. He's really, really putting Asian comics on in a major way. And on top of that, he's not putting Asian comics on. He's only putting on good comics who happen to be Asian.
Yeah.
Like Jason Chaney and shit like that. Like everybody he's putting on, they're legitimately good comics, and they are also Asian. He's not just giving them an opportunity because of the area of the world their ancestors come from is similar to his. So you can use that, like you can use that connection if he ever does, or if I'm doing shows in Oklahoma City and you're like, yo man, I'm trying to get in with that club, can you help me? I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be in the area, if you want to fly out, I'll ask them if you can get 7 and they'll give you 5. And then I'll ask if you can do the late show, and I'll be like, yo, just do a different 5 minutes so they know that you got 10 at least. I see. And now when you email them that week, you put my name in the subject line, and just say thank you, say guest spot, thank you, and then, hey, this is James. I was doing guest spots for DJ this last week, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed my time at your club, and I was just wondering if I could send you, and then just send them the submission clip, and then a little bit of a resume saying like these are the places that I already work at, or this is the work I've done, or these are the people that I've worked with. Would love an opportunity to do a full week with you, blah, blah, whatever. And then put all your contact info at the bottom and put your headshot in the email. Because, I mean, not everybody has an email that is their name, right? Like, what if my email's skaterboy69@AOL.com, and well, hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. They're like, who the fuck are you? Like, you got to put your headshot in the at the bottom of the email so they know exactly who they're talking to.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I'm actually.
the more you treat this like a job, the more of a likelihood of it becoming a job will be. If you keep treating it like a hobby, it's always going to be a hobby. But if you start, I mean, I spend like anybody who says if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life is full of shit. Instead,
Mhm.
I am working 24 hours a day. I am always on clock. I might be watching a movie right now, but if my phone goes off, I'm checking to see what happened on my phone, and I've checked my email probably 30 times by the time this movie ended.
Hmm.
Because if I get an email saying, yo, are you available on this day? I need to make sure that I respond first because they might have sent that email out to 30 people.
Mm.
Like they're not just sitting around waiting for that one response. Like if you got 50 matches on Tinder, are you just going to send one message out and hope that they respond? Or are you just going to send out a message to all 50 of them and respond to whichever one responds first? Like you're just going to go with whoever's communicating with you actively.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I got a busy rest of the year to make those connections. I'm going to be in LA. I'm opening for. I'm actually filming something with Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington. Greg Turkington, who does Neil Hamburger. I'm opening for him in LA April 24th. Oh,
So
that makes a ton of
I
sense.
chose this city specifically because of how many clubs there are, its proximity to LA and Phoenix, and cost of living is good out here, and the flights are cheaper than any other city in America. So even when I was in Sacramento, my round trip to Oklahoma City would be $350, but my round trip to Oklahoma City out of Vegas is like $94.
Yeah, because I remember Steve Byrne when he came down here, he was saying that he eventually lived in Chicago because it was centralized to wherever he had to perform. But out of the calendar year, he probably only spent cumulative a month's worth of days at home.
Yeah.
Other than that, this was before Sullivan says. Other than that, he was always touring, always on the road. He stopped by the house and then back on the road. I think Nate Bargatze was talking about it somewhere where he commutes from Tennessee, where he can get to. If their meeting comes up in L.A., like you said, that he needs to be right away, he can get there pretty quickly from Tennessee, or if it's New York. If he lived in New York or L.A., it would be tough trying to get all the way across. So living in that centralized area, being in a hub for wherever he needs to be in that day or the next day, it can be done quickly. So I guess Vegas does make a ton of sense. Also has good food, so.
Oh, that's fucking phenomenal food. Dude, the food scene out here is getting better and better every month. Like every month there's a new spot that opens up that's better than the last one. Actually, that just reminded me. I need a. There's a spot that just opened up on my house. It's this grilled cheese sandwich spot, and I haven't checked that out yet. I'm gonna go do that right now.
Nice. Shoot. Well, definitely will hit you up when I'm in the area that you're performing. I will be. My daughter's going to school in Wyoming now, so.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. So now that I was a single dad, but now that my daughter's an adult and she's off in college and whatnot, I can actually travel now and get to spots. So I started looking at festivals. I was thinking that's a way for me to start out.
That's
and
a great way to do it. That is an absolutely great way to, because then you meet comics from all over the country, or all over the world, and they know where the local showcases are in their own city, so they can find you those bar gigs, and they can tell you who the club booker is. So then when you're so you can do the bar gigs in San Diego or whatever on like Wednesday and Thursday, and then get the guest spot at the club on Friday. Because then you can hit up the club and be like, hey, I'm a comic. I'm just going to be in town on these days. I would love to come by and it's easier to set that up. And sometimes I used to just lie to people. I would just send out an email and be like, oh, I'm going to be in I'm going to be in Appleton for a family event on this day, and I was wondering if, and they're like, yeah, sure. And then once I got the okay, then I would book my flight to Appleton. You know, just show up and be like, oh yeah, you know, family events, and
And you're like, what family? Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, dude,
The one.
I would lie to them all the fucking time. I would just create a reason for why I needed to. Like sometimes I would say, like work is sending me out to Atlanta, and so I want to be in the. And then once I got a response from the booker, I was like, all right, looks like I got to be in Atlanta. And then I would go do my guest spot and then start getting my bookings after that. Start getting on the calendar. But you got to have getting your resume looked at, getting your resume seen is the hardest part. And then from there, you got to get the interview date. And then when you show up to that interview, you gotta crush it out of the park so that you can actually get a job offer. And that's exactly the same way with comedy. Like getting your email seen is the hardest part of it. Once they actually look at it, you got to make sure that your submission clip is fire, and then go out there for your guest spot or your feature week or your host week, and you kill it. And now they're going to put you on the schedule. Now you're going to be getting shifts.
Yeah, because I got credits. It's just over the amount of time that I've been doing comedy, it's just something happened in my life where I got sidetracked, and then I had to come back, and I got sidetracked. I had to come back. You know, death in the family or whatever it was. So I was never able to keep the momentum going, and also being a single dad to a little girl. So now it's like, hey, you're off to college and you got full scholarship. You know, I don't really need to take care of you other than being supportive, emotionally and you know, whatever, you know, she needs at the time. But for the most part, she's an adult. She can take care of herself. And now it's like, all right, let's go do this. So when I go to LA, I'm going to start to try to get contacts and hit up the people that, you know, had said they would vouch for me and stuff. So hopefully we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah, man.
Bump into each other on the road, which was really random because at that time when you saw me, I was there filming for that TV show, Decker, on Adult Swim.
Oh yeah.
The time I bumped into you at the Comedy Store, and then now I'm going back up there. They're going to do the same cast and crew, just going to do a feature film length. It's not going to be in the theaters, but it's going to be a bigger production. So it's like, oh, you know, I guess now is my time to try to use some of these credits to get into.
Yeah, dope. Is that, and that's still with Adult Swim?
No, now Adult Swim got a new person that's in charge of it, and they got rid of a lot of the live action stuff. They want to stick to animated stuff. But Tim Heidecker doesn't want because they send it to I don't know, is it Singapore or somewhere in the Far East. They make the cartoon there and then they bring it back. He likes control of his things that he creates. So it has to be his way, or you know. So they're doing there with another studio. So and there's a bunch of people there. It was pretty cool. It was Shang.
Shang Forbes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Theo Vaughn. So then they're there. Jay Davis. Oh yeah, so we're gonna have 2 cold opens, and then we'll start the show. There's gonna be another opener, and there's gonna be you. It's like, all right, cool. So the cold openers go up and just die. Like nobody was even listening, and nobody's. First guy goes up, died, and so this is something that I remember Doug Stanhope doing when he was here in Hawaii, where he attacked the audience, calling the audience. It was a show that Eddie If came down and I put together. Sorry, it's a long story. So Doug Stanhope calls me and says, hey, I want to book a show in Hawaii like we did last year. I was like, I already have Eddie If booked. You know, I know you would sell more tickets than Eddie If, but I don't want to be that promoter that cancels on a person because a bigger name comes through. And he was like, oh, no, I understand. I respect that. Okay, cool. but he's still coming down. So he comes down and he calls me. He calls me from Roseanne's farm on the Big Island. He goes, "Hey, I'm coming down, and we're gonna come and say hi to Eddie F." I was like, "Oh, he loved that. He's a big fan of yours." Comes down, and then I'm up. I'm the host. Two of my openers kind of didn't do too well, and then so I go up, and the way I was talking, it pissed off Stanhope. Stanhope comes walking up on the stage. He's like, "James Money, fuck you. Give me that microphone, you piece of shit. how dare you talk about these openers?" Like, because I was like, "Oh, trust me, the show will get better." Just that line right there. And it pissed him off. And he was like, "Fuck you." And he goes, "Fuck all of you guys. This is the shittiest crowd I ever seen. Fuck you guys. You guys, these people worked hard to come up with these jokes. And I watched it, and these were funny jokes. You guys just waiting for the headline. You guys are all pieces of shit." And he's just going after them. So when I remember that, I got up at the parlor, and nobody's paying attention. So it's nothing with the comics. It's just they still had TV on because it's like a sports bar, and everybody's watching. I think it was like a Lakers game or something.
Well, in LA?
Yeah, it was
I know exactly
on Melrose.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I got up there. I was like, you know what? You guys are the fucking shittiest group of people. I flew in from Hawaii, and they told me, watch out for those fake LA plastic people. You guys aren't even paying attention. There's a show over here, and you guys are watching the fucking Lakers. I hope they lose. Fuck the Lakers. And everybody just started turning around like, who the hell is this person? But that's what got their attention. Because... Yeah. And that's what the openers didn't do. They didn't know how to get the attention of the crowd and then go into material. And then it turned the show, and then Theo Vaughn followed. And then after he was talking to me after the show, he was like, "Hey, man, that was great. We were kind of worried backstage. We were thinking that they can't turn the crowd, and you got the crowd on board to watch the comedy show. And so great job." And I was like, wow, I felt that was my moment. I was like, oh, well,
Parlor is where I got my the proudest boo I've ever gotten on stage. I was so proud of it. It was you remember this had to have been like 4 years ago, something like that. It was like 2018, 2019. There was a shooting at a country bar in like Ventura or something like that, or like Woodland Hills or something. I don't remember where it was. I think it was Ventura. Where some dude walked in and shot like 13 people or some shit. I can't remember. It was crazy. Like he walked in the bar and just like mowed it down. And the day after, I was at the Parlor, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I moved to LA because like I knew that they made movies in Hollywood. I just didn't know they did all the shooting in Ventura." And everybody's like, boo! The comics were like, what the fuck, bro? And I was like, look, here's the thing. If you don't like that joke, you need to vote better and get these gun laws changed. But you can't have loose gun laws and feelings about shooting jokes anymore. But if you're more offended by the joke than you are by the shooting, then there's an issue here, and that's your fucking fault. So if you really don't want people to make jokes about mass shootings, you need to stop the mass shootings. Because I'm going to make fun of whatever the fuck happens. So stop letting these mass shootings happen and have some pragmatic gun laws. I mean, the dude had a domestic violence charge, and like he had like a record. I was like, why the fuck? And he legally had his gun. It was like, why the fuck does he have a gun then? Like,
but
that's a very pragmatic.
But boo to the comedian. But boo to the comedian who's talking about it.
But boo me, because fucking. I mean, that's a good joke though. There's no fat in that joke.
Yeah.
That is a perfectly constructed joke.
LA. Because I've been finding that people who are, I don't want to say well off, but the people that are socioeconomic class that's higher than me, they really liked when you roast them or for some reason. Like
Oh,
it's kind of like
it's a power exchange.
it's kind of like the whole dominatrix thing. All of a
Yeah, I
sudden,
was
as
just
the
about to say
comedian,
my homegirl, one of my homegirls, she worked in a dungeon, and she was like, literally, all of my clients are politicians and cops and like CEOs or like branch manager or something like that. Like they're all in positions of power. So they're not. It's not that they get off on, like they don't even get off on their dick being touched. Like they get off on relinquishing power and letting somebody else be in charge. I mean, is it? Because you're never in charge, right? So wouldn't you be kind of juiced if they let you be governor for a week? You'd be like,
I wouldn't get off.
I never get to do this. This is dope.
Yes, I would. It wouldn't be sexual for me though. It'd be like, oh, look at this. Yes, I just made 3 laws, everybody.
But
I'm not.
That's a misconception though with BDSM. BDSM isn't necessarily sexual. Like it's not really sexual because like most BDSM doesn't have any penetration or like most like the proper BDSM stuff like you're like tied up in like nipple clamps and stuff like that, but it's just that's all it is. Like it never even becomes sexual.
Maybe that's how you can get to know somebody. You be like, you go up to somebody and be like, hey, imagine if they made you president or king of the world today. How would you feel? And be like, I don't feel anything about that. And you know that person has money or has power.
Right.
And if they go, that would be amazing. You'd be like, my broke friend over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you hit them with a hypothetical about being in a position of power. But yeah, they rich people love being roasted because nobody talks shit to them ever. We talk shit about them all the time, but
never
we
to
talk
them.
shit to them. Like if somebody pulls up in a Ferrari, they get respected automatically. People respect them. Like.
That should be my thing now. It might be different for me because I'm so huge. You know, 6'7", 400 pounds.
I don't think they make Ferraris in your size.
No, but me talking to somebody with a Ferrari and then just talking shit to them. Like, oh yeah, is this what life is taught you? You ain't shit. Or something.
I used to do a joke about like I survived a tornado and the advice they gave me was terrible. They're like, if you want to survive a tornado, all you got to do is grab the mattress and hide out in the bathtub. And I was like, that's shitty advice. Here's how you know that's terrible advice. Raise of hands if you have a queen-size bed big enough to fit your queen, or raise your hand if you have a bathtub big enough to fit your queen-size fucking bed. And then there was one dude in the front at one show. He was like, and I was like, oh, yeah, oh. Okay, now it makes sense. And he was like, what? I was like, I was just saying, man, like, you got to have a lot of money to be able to wear a shirt that hideous. And he was like, oh, and his shirt was fucking hideous. And then I just started talking shit. After the show, he gave me $100 for my DVD because I do donation based on my merch. And he was like, yeah, here's $100 for the DVD. And then he DMs me and he was like, why don't you come out to Louisville? I want to do a private gig for you and my friends and like this and that. And he's like, just what do you charge? And I was like, I mean, it just depends what the budget is. He's like, I'm just coming out of pocket. I'm just throwing the show so my friends can see you. Nice. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he's like, we'll fly you out. We'll put you in a hotel. What do you want? And I was like, what the fuck, man? And like, straight up. And it was all because I was just talking shit about how rich he is. Like, I was shitting on him for being rich. And he was like, you know what? Let me show you how rich I am. Come shit on all my... You come over to my house and shit on all my fucking terrible rich friends.
Let me introduce you to my wife that I purchased and my shitty kids that don't give a fuck if I live or die.
His side chick was there. His mistress was with him. And she was like, hey, thank you so much for calling him out on that shirt. I was begging him not to wear that shirt. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how long has it been married? She's like, oh, no, we're not married. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I just saw the wedding ring. She's like, oh, no, my husband's at home. His wife's at home. And I was like, oh, so it's like that. She was like, well, I mean, like everybody knows, it's fine. We just don't talk about it. And I was like, God, man, being rich is the best. Fucking, but that's why they like being talked down to, is because like they don't even have to respect the sanctity of marriage. They get everything that they want all the time. So being told no and being given hard boundaries is not something that happens for them.
I host a show tonight. I'm going to get up and be like, any rich people here?
Dude, it's Hawaii. It's Hawaii. It's nothing but rich or poor people. There's no middle ground. There's nobody middle class. You're either balling out of control or you're eating Spam on the dollar menu.
You can't say that because we love Spam. So you can't. You got to use another type of meat. So.
The rich people ain't eating Spam.
Yeah, they are. The Spam musubi goes huge. Yes, Hawaii.
Rich
Hawaii
the
people.
ballers are eating it too.
Yeah, because we were raised on it. If maybe you weren't from here, even
I know it's a huge part of your culture. I know that, but I didn't think the rich people were fucking with it.
Even friends who've moved here who have a lot of money and they don't like Spam when they're in the States. When they come here and they try Spam musubi, and they're like, "Wow, this is actually pretty good." And when they go back, they're like, "That's what I miss the most: Spam musubi."
Spam is fine. It's just the packaging. Like the packaging's terrible.
We love it. We love it. We're perfect with it, and we're fine with it. We grew up with it. It's actually more expensive here than up there.
As much as I love vanilla ice cream, if you served it to me out of a used shoe, I'm like, I don't really know if this is the way to eat ice cream. I don't know if this is really how you should be presenting ice cream. Right? That's it. Like, it's just, it's in a fucking can. That's not the most appealing. Like, there's that joke about like how you won't at Thanksgiving dinner you won't touch the canned cranberry sauce. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants canned anything.
Man, you're starting to sound a little rich. I'm gonna start to talk shit about you pretty soon, make you feel better.
I do okay.
Because, well, I mean, I don't know. It's maybe the way we were brought up. I guess maybe the can is okay for us.
Well, yeah, because it's Hawaii. You don't have enough.
Right.
You don't have enough space to farm your whole.
We don't have processing factories to make these things.
Well, yeah. You don't have the factories, but like, I mean, I'm from Sacramento, and it's called the farm to fork capital of the world. So if you go to a bar or a restaurant in Sacramento, chances are everything you're eating was grown within 100 miles of the doorstep of that bar or restaurant. Right. So it's like, you don't have that. Like you don't have the space for that. You can't cultivate vegetables and cattle and also accommodate housing for everybody on the island.
Strangely,
you got to ship everything in.
Not enough, but we do. It's just way more expensive when we get it from Hawaii. The stuff that we fly in is much cheaper than the stuff that we grow in our own state.
Because you can't mass produce.
Right. Well, like we can't. Yeah, like we don't have enough.
Lettuce is way cheaper when you can make 1 million pounds of it, but you can only make 1,000 pounds of it.
Ah, right. And it's funny because when I went to San Diego years ago, and I was like, man, these grapes, this is like the best grapes I've ever had. And then I was like, man, I've never seen grapes this big and just so delicious. And they're like, well, it's from here. I'm like, oh yeah. So when you guys fly this over, by the time it gets to Hawaii, it's all kinds of shrinking happening.
Yeah, it's like dehydrated a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, it must be nice to be from California.
That's why every song is about California. Like, how many songs reference California?
Right. I love LA.
It's a dude.
LA.
California is fantastic. There's no songs about Oregon.
Not yet.
Nobody's. No one's singing about Wyoming.
Bend, Oregon.
Nobody's proud of North Dakota. Like,
Montana.
California's the
Montana.
shit, man.
Yeah, looks like it.
California's fantastic. But
You're a Niners fan, right?
No, I'm a Raider fan.
Oh, all right, frick. All right. Well, good luck to you guys this coming season. I appreciate you spending your time. We'll share contact and stuff, information about things that you want to do.
Yeah, all right, baby.
Cool. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bro.
All right, brother. That's DJ Sandhu, ladies and gentlemen. Good friend. Very funny comedian. Please do me a favor. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Search for Comedian James Money. If you haven't already, you can also follow on Facebook, Comedian James Money. You can even Google Hawaii Comedy with James Money. Find me. Subscribe. And then you can hit that notification button that tells you when we go live, because I appreciate you guys that tuned in. You guys can always hit up later. If you guys have any other questions, please like, share, and follow. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I'll be back on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Hawaii time. Till then, I am out of here.
It can easily be done if you just get it, man. And I'll be feeling it, the rhythm in my bones, shaking it and stomping on my feet, stomping to the groovy blues beat. Yeah, I'm on fire, baby, can you feel me heat, lover? Well, I'll be feeling it, the rhythm in my bones, the rhythm in my bones. It's the rhythm in my bones.